Bentley systems. And first of all, introduction for me. So I'm Sean Murray. I'm Technical Director in ACOM and also the Engineering and Design Director for the South Rail Systems Alliance. I've got a minimal of 36 years now in the railway industry, and I'm also a member of the PWI EDI committee as well. Okay, and for my sins, I have used, just get rid of that. Apologies. I've used OpenRail in its sort of current form from where it was as MOS, for those that remember, and there's a bit of code there that if those that remember long enough that we sat down behind some Spark machines typing code to produce our railway alignments. Then I did go into MX Rail PRT, haven't really touched BRT, but I do know about OpenRail from being on the PWI working group for OpenRail Designer. Okay, and the progress and the enhancements that's been made during the past 2 years, which has been really gratefully accepted by the design organisations, many of you that are on this call. The next session we have is in about 2 weeks' time. So there it is. It's on the PWI website, and you will have some invites come out if you're members as well. Okay, so if you could try to join that as well and register through PWI on March the 18th. And today's session is presented by Kivanc and Hakan, and they provide a walkthrough of the latest features and enhancements in ORD, focusing on brownfield design initially, and Cant workflows, and you'll get a chance to see some of the enhancements for the regression tool set, the workflow, and some of the other features including their geometry and Cant integration and updated Cant table. So it's more of the detail within the program rather than introducing the program as a whole by itself. Okay, the session will be recorded and available on the PWI website very soon. Please, can you turn your cameras off and have your sound off as well? During the presentation, you're more than welcome to sit there and have your lunch, but we'd rather not see it or hear it, if that's okay. And if you could post any questions in the chat box, and at the end of the session, there'll be an opportunity for yourself to present your question, or you can leave that to me, and I'll go through the chat box, and I will ask all the questions. Okay, so with that, I will hand over to... Bear with me.
Yep.
Okay. Let's get out of this. Okay.
Hello.
Right, over to you guys. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Kivanc. I'll just share my screen and we can go from there, I guess. Give me a second. Let me make this thing full screen and share my screen after the fact. Okay. So share on this. Yeah, let me know if you can hear and see the picture also.
Fine, Kevin. Yeah, fine.
Okay, so thank you for joining. This is Kivanc Karakas, and we have also Hakan here. I will do the presentation, and Hakan will be trying to reply any questions to in the chat, and I'll try to have some extra time to review if there's any chat questions myself. But yeah, we will be working together on this. So this presentation is about not everything new in OpenRail Designer 2024, because 2024 release of OpenRail Designer is a major release in terms of both the release itself, but also it's a major release in terms of OpenRail, the rail functionality specifically. We have a lot of new things, and most of those are actually developed with the help of PWI group in conjunction with the engineers. And so what I will be sharing is a part of this work, which is Regression and Cant. But I strongly advise you to go and check our communities and YouTube channel if you want to see the full list, because we have many other things like right to left profiles, multi-profile tools, and many other things that I will not cover in this presentation. So this presentation is about regression and Cant workflows, which are completely redesigned for 2024, again, with the help of PWI members. So let's start with the regression part of the presentation. Okay, so what is new? How it is new? Regression workflow is completely recreated, and while doing so, what we have done is not only updated the whole workflow from our previous version 2023 or 10.12 in OpenRail, but also we try to make it so that what we have here is better than what we had in Bentley Railtrack and MX Rail also. And while I am doing the presentation, you'll see the functions and workflows coming from both BRT and also MX. And that was also, as I said, possible because of your contributions, because myself is a BRT user, never used MX, for example, but you'll see there are things that are coming from MX. So at the heart of this new development, we have this geometry, regression complex geometry, which is kind of acts like a container where you can add your elements, and it will create the connection between your regression points, the slew values, lift and lower values, and with your geometry elements. So that is the basic of all the things that I will show in the rest of this presentation, this basic container. So let's see this in a video. Yep. Now, what you see is as I create the new regression line, the regression line is kind of like a combination of all the points. It also creates an empty geometry. And as we are adding new elements, like doing single element regression here, I am doing single element regression for an arc and then for a line. You can see these are all added into a single geometry, single complex. There are gaps in that, but if they are all added into the same container. And then after adding them, you can also manipulate them in the new version. You can just drag them. And as I am dragging these geometry extents, you can see how it updates the slew values. You can change the radius values and it will again update that. Moreover, because we now have a container, you can mix and match different methods. So you can make one part of the geometry with using normal single regression tools, and then another part with using quick regression, for example. And as you are doing all these things, the software also automatically in the new version will update your vertical. So it will create a vertical space for you to create your vertical in conjunction with your horizontal. Here I created a partial horizontal and then jump to my vertical to do some vertical creation, and you can see that also automatically creates lifts and lowers. And this new workflows also allows us to use other tools that we commonly use in geometry, like adding a spiral, editing the geometry with tables. But the idea here is whichever tool you use, like single regression, the spiral tool, verticals, tables, they all will work together. The idea is to update the slews all the time as you are adding more things, changing more things, to keep everything together inside a single geometry. And also this new container gives us ability to attach our speed and Cant before we finish our whole geometry. So that was a very brief overview of what we have, but we will go into details because I know a lot of things were very fast, but let's go into details about this. The idea here in this first slide is just we have now a container where you can put every geometry element, and you can put these geometry elements in many different ways, and also your Cant and speed. The main philosophy in all this development is to give you multitude of tools to tackle with the regression problem, which is a complex and difficult workflow by itself, by its very own nature, and it's a non-linear workflow. In the regression, you need to sometimes do one part of geometry, then other part of geometry, and then jump between different tools. So what you will see in this presentation and also in the new workflows is not a single workflow, but you can utilize many different tools now in the new version to create the geometry wherever you need different tools. So let's go one by one. First, the regression point table. This point table is used for managing your regression points. And it's not only for managing the points, like seeing the point names and point properties, but also for analysis. That is such as seeing the sleeve values, lift and lower values. We also added new properties that are existing Cant and instantaneous radius values. So let's see in a video how this is in the software. As you can see, every point is represented here, and it also has all the information that is related to vertical. So not only horizontal information, but vertical information. And the table also lets you edit these information. You can edit them one by one or as a group, change the names, change the weight of the object, or change the status. You can also use it for highlighting maximum sleeves, lift values, or even the change in the sleeve, the delta sleeve, which is like how much sleeve changed from one point to other. And you can also use this to do regression. You can select a bunch of points from here and then create a regression analysis directly from the table editor. It also shows you which elements are created as you are creating your geometry. So if you created a line over these points, it will also show this. So this is the first nav tool that we have. Another nav thing that directly came from your feedback and it's coming from MX is trace display. And this is one of my favorite nav things in the nav software. So the trace display is, if I can start the video, yeah. It displays the it displays a boundary that shows the maximum and desired sleeve values, the orange and red bits. And you can change them while doing the regression. And as you change these values are also written onto the point. So as you are creating your regression, the further analysis will remember the values that you input here. And then you can add and remove points. So here I just adding more points to my regression and just see that sleeve line, how it will be changing as I am adding and removing points. So I have a curve here. And as I change I can also change my radius. You can see it updated. And then I can also edit this further right and left by using the nudge functionality. As I did this analysis, the values that I input, like the sleeve values, unacceptable left, unacceptable right sleeve values, they are all stored on the points, and the point editor is also displaying this as part of your point properties. These are also be carried over to the regression reports and annotations. So this is the new trace display. It is very useful if you are trying to determine the extents of your elements. Another new tool that we have in here is regression complex table. That is another table that we have, but this time instead of displaying information about the points, it displays information about the geometry that is created. So let's also see this quickly. So I created some elements with using regression tools, and now this is my regression complex table. As you can see at the top, it displays your horizontal geometry elements, and at the bottom, it displays the vertical geometry elements. And it also displays the integrity status of these elements. You can see here the first elements has okay integrity, but the third element is not connected, as you can also see in the plan view below. And the tool itself is not only for displaying these information, but it's also for doing work. So what you can do here is it highlights the points, and when you're in this tool, you can also use generic geometry tool. So now I am using just a simple arc command. This is not a regression tool, but when I do that, you can see that it added automatically, captured by the regression complex, updated the sleeve values, and also showed the connection is correct. You can even add elements. This is just a microstation line, for example. I just added it into my regression geometry, and it updated my sleeves. And then I said that, okay, this is just a line, recalculate it and make it better. And it recalculated that geometry so that it has better fit. You can also get reports per element using this tool. And you can also use this tool to nudge elements individually after creating them, as I am doing here. One other thing that we can do is you can also remove elements using the tool. So not only add, but you can also remove them. And if you open the regression mode from here, it always displays your sleeve values in the screen. Again, a comment, it's based on the feedback that you gave us. And when the regression mode is on, if I use any tool like 3-point arc, this will always capture and will be part of your geometry. So this new regression complex tool gives us a lot of flexibility about how we can work. You can add and remove geometry elements directly from your complex. You can add more elements that will automatically update your sleeves. And you can do this not only in horizontal, but also in vertical. Curvature diagram is also updated in line with the new regression tools. So it has a new cleaner display and also uses the curvature formula instead of deflection that we were using before. In here, you can see magenta and let's say turquoise blue colors that represents lines and curves. And it is also creating elements same as the other regression tools. So the created elements has geometry properties. You can create them, then you can edit them with normal manipulators like any other regression tool. And another thing that I think very useful is it also synchronizes with the plan display. So I can use trace display to see the ends while also seeing the same information here. As I am using trace display to add more points, I also see I am now going into a spiral. So I can use trace display. I can use trace display together with curvature diagram to better understand what's happening. So it is not only a tool that you can use like I will do my regression on plan or curvature diagram like before. You can use it in conjunction with plan workflows. You can have one view at the bottom, one view at the top, which is the way that I usually like to do in the new version. By the way, just let me tell in this point, we have a NIV training for all these NIV tools, which uses the data that thanks to Network Rail gave us. So it is a complete NIV course on some real-world geometry, which has also more complex sections in it. In these videos, I just do it in a more simpler version of it. So if you want to start, you can. You have a training that you can follow. Okay. Next, the vertical regression. The vertical regression is also includes its own complex. So just like horizontal geometry, it also has a complex for its own. And it also just like horizontal, has trace display. So this time for desired lift and maximum lift lower values. And again, I can add points. You can see how the sleeve line is updated as I am doing that. And another new function that actually comes from some other users is this maximum lower value, which we call bump function. I mean, it's coming from users actually. So when you, in the new version, after you create a piece of vertical, you can bump it up so that it has no sections under the point elevation. So it is always in lift. And as I am adding this, my complex table, again, can be used for vertical, and I can also use normal geometry tools. So this time I am using just a simple line between points tool, and this again will be captured by the regression complex. And again, you can nudge after doing this. So what I am doing is I am bumping the geometry up. So this, again, this section is always in fill. And the new horizontal vertical is automatically updated in the new version. So as I am adding this element here at the end of my geometry, you can see how the vertical profile is now extended. Of course, there is a gap between two elements, so you can see it in here. What I am doing is I am adding an arc, and I want to pause here for a second because I think this is very significant. I am adding a horizontal element between two vertical elements. I have a vertical element here, another vertical element here, and I am adding something in between. What the software does in the background is quite a work of healing for this. So it's not visible, but I think it's worth mentioning. As I am adding this arc, what the software will do is it will recalculate the order of elements, will heal the vertical. So this vertical element will not slide back. And let's see, we'll also update the vertical regression profile. So I added this element, it extended, and you can see how it slided the vertical to the right so that your elements always kept their geographic XY locations. And again, just like horizontal, vertical is also represented in the regression point table, where you can see the lift lower values together with all the horizontal properties. So you can see here 4 millimeter lift or lower, and these can also be seen in the geometry point properties. So just to recap what I have said up until here is, you can see it is very hard to do a presentation on the NIV tools, because what I am showing you is a very brief summary of the NIV tools and NIV workflows, and it's very hard to understand all of them at once. But what I can tell you is the idea, as I said in the beginning, to give you many different ways to do your work. If you need, you can use quick regression. You can use single regression. You can start regression from a point table. You can add microstation elements if it comes to that, or you can just use normal geometry tools like 3-point arc instead of doing regression at all. You can start with one workflow and then continue with one other. You can do your horizontal together with your vertical, go back and add more horizontal elements and continue with your vertical at the same time. So idea is doing everything at all once. I mean, because regression, as I said, is not a linear workflow. It is quite complex, and we try to give you tools to do that. There is no one way of doing this right. You will learn how to use which tool will benefit you most when needed. Another part of this integration is Cant and design calculator integration. Now, Cant and design calculator is a topic by itself, so I will come to that after regression. But Cant is updated so that it is also integrated into the regression workflow. Let's see this. in all radius fields, in all geometry tools, not only regression tools, in all geometry tools, wherever there is a radius field, you have a shortcut to the design calculator. So I created an arc with regression. As I said, I could have created with any tool. And then you see there's a 3 dots at the bottom where it gives me access to my design calculator. And design calculator is updated to integrate the workflow such that you can open it directly from any radius. That can be even microstation properties. And as I am doing calculations, here I will do a calculation of the speed based on my radius. So it calculates the radius, and I will set it to 600 meters, and I will set my applied Cant to a maximum of, let's say, 70 millimeters, and it calculates a speed. It's, as you can see, fixed the radius, and not only fixed the radius, but now in the new version, it also stored that speed value as a Cant entity. And this again has intelligence on it. That is, it knows it is an incomplete definition, such as there is no spiral here. So it knows that it is storing this value for the future. And as I will create the rest of my geometry, it will automatically heal the Cant geometry, Cant alignment, so that it does the transitions and speed values in line with that. So I added my spirals now, and let's see what this speed has become. You can see that now it automatically had that speed carried over to here. And I just changed the speed to make it a bit more meaningful. And please see what it did here. I changed the speed for this one entity to 75 because the calculated value coming from my earlier calculation was something not round, and I usually like to round the values here. And it not only changed for this entrance of the curve, it has an understanding of how a curve set works, and it updates the speed values for all the region. One other thing that I think is quite significant here is now you can change speed directly from Cant table. That was not possible before, so Cant and speed table are integrated together. We still have a speed table that is separate, but now you can change the speed directly from the Cant points. And when you change the speed, it understands there's a curve set, and it does that with an algorithm that change the speed for the region, not only for a point. By the way, all these, what I am explaining here, wherever there's an algorithm or wherever there is some calculation, they are now also in the help document with all the details. So we just extended the help document for Cant and regression greatly, try to include everything about all these calculations, properties, how they are coming from, how they are calculated, how the algorithm works. So that should be a good point to understand what is happening behind the calculations. And as I said, even after creating geometry, you can go to any radius and then just change the access to the design calculator. So it calculated the speed, and what you will see is now it also updated the speed here for the region again, not for only that point. And also we have colors in the table. You see that it's colorful, so which is nice, I guess. And you can see in the speed table how it's changed the speed for this region only. So we will look at Cant a bit more detail now. So this was in line with what I showed, in line with the regression integration. So, but Cant and speed is not only for regression, it is updated for whole workflow. So for greenfield projects also, all the things that I showed you also works for greenfield. So the speed changes and then design calculator integration doesn't need regression. It can work with any geometry. But there is still more about Cant and speed tables. It is updated not only as an integration of speed tables and all this storage of Cant as you are creating your geometry, But also we had improved the performance of the Cant table greatly. I mean, it was improved already a lot in 2023, but we further improved it. For those who use 2023 or the previous versions can see there is no longer speed sections here. It has its speed table. It updates much more quickly in longer geometries. It also has a lot of little tiny improvements that will make your life easier. I will not list all of them here, but when you use it, you will realize it's much fluent, much, let's say, watertight than before. One other thing that we have here is in the Cant table, we also overlaid the speed. So you can see the speed table here. Let's see. And on top of that, we also added, moved a lot of Cant information onto the Cant points, which is again something new. So let's see it in a video. This time I am in a normal geometry, like no regression geometry. And I go to my Cant editor. And you can see now in the new version, we have new Cant properties. So we have speed table, as we have seen, integrated directly to here, and you can edit it from here, or you can edit the speeds directly from the points. We have the overlay for the speed table, and we also have integrated new properties that are for rotation or for the status of the point. Again, as I change the speed for this point, you can see how it changed the speed for the whole section. It has an understanding of the, not curve sets. I mean, it's in the help document. You can see how it does it. And if I change a speed now in the new version, you can see it says now it's a fixed Cant. And if I change the geometry after I change my speed, the new version also have an understanding, which is very significant and was missing. It has an understanding of the point types, cardinal points, for example. In the older version, it also had that, but now in the new version, it updates when your geometry change. It keeps your Cant point locations intelligently. So if you just fix the Cant value, and if it knows it's a spiral to curve transition, it will move the new point station such that it is still a spiral to curve transition. So it is more intelligently understands your design intent and then updates the values based on that. Moreover, now we also removed the old way of projecting Cant and have projected Cant points instead. As you can see, Cant projection region. So I have some turnout on an arc here, curve here, and I want to project my Cant from the main line onto this new section. You can see now it projects the points or the values based on what we have in the geometry, and it displays all of these in here. So now you can have a part of your Cant geometry as projected, another part of your geometry as normal, another as fixed. You can change the rotation per point, so you don't have to create new Cant for this. So in these parts, I can say that right point is my pivot point. That really simplifies a lot what you do, especially the workflows that requires, for example, negative Cant. Should be working much better now. As I said, as you use, you will see a lot of little things that is improved. There is no point applications or any other problems that we had before also. Okay, together with this, we also updated the reports. You see that there's a lot of information added to regression points, and also to support that, we added new reports. The regression reports are now combined into a single report. Horizontal and vertical is a single report and has every information that we have in the new points, which gives us a lot of flexibility in creating custom reports. The report structure, the XML underneath the report is also greatly improved. Now it has whole geometry information, and you can also report in interval and event points. We also added new regression XSLs that you can see has slew values and lift and lower values together. That was not possible at all before. And we also take advantage of the new regression point properties, that is Cant and existing Cant. So you can see in this report, no, not in this report, in the next one, you can see the lift lower, slews, existing Cant and design Cant values are also now included here. Let us know if you need more reports. I mean, we try to add reports that will that shows what we have. So it has also event points added. But this report structure is much more comprehensive than before. Cant reporting is also updated similarly. So the new Cant reports has more information, especially horizontal and vertical information is now completely included. In the old version, we didn't have vertical. Now we have vertical and event points also. So, and also Cant report can report on multiple geometries at once. I select the event points. I can select the profiles, the vertical geometries, one or multiple of them. And again, we have new XSL reports, additional XSL reports to take advantage of this, horizontal and vertical and event point information. Here you can see the vertical also after the horizontal and then the event points. And I added one more that reports not only the Cant but also elevations together. Again, the underlying XML structure is greatly improved. So if you need any custom XML reports, XSL reports, it is much easier to do now in the new version. Drawing production is also updated with all this, as you would imagine. So we try to make everything consistent. As we added a lot of things to regression, we made sure we also added all these to the annotations and also reporting. So let's see the annotations first. There are points. This is from the training data set, I think. You can see this is the dynamic display. When I turn this button on, it just shows properties, and all these properties that are shown here, like lift, existing Cant, are customizable. You can select what will be dynamically shown in your geometry. Also, you can annotate these as permanent graphics. Here, I just create an annotation that displays the slew and lift values, and this also extends same to the vertical. So vertical and horizontal has the same properties. You can also annotate existing Cant on vertical if you want to, for example. And they are also extended so that you can use things like civil labeler, where I added more. Drawing production is also completely, not completely, but for regression completely updated, where we have now new regression fields for slew and lift. Before we didn't have this, so it would require some workarounds. Now horizontal and vertical regression has its own properties, which means that it is much easier and much faster to annotate all this. Existing Cant, lift and lower, slew, they are all now part of the new properties. So, okay, that was what we had in a very quick nutshell. There's so many things, so I had to have this a bit quick. But I want to show you a 5 minutes something else that we had yesterday. Some of you, I am sure, know that at least we have these new events, one in London last Thursday and one yesterday on Manchester, where we have we have an in-person event to show what we have done, including other new things in the 2024. This was only for regression and Cant. And we had over there Philip Seymour from Network Rail also made a presentation. So I just stole his presentation and wanted to show parts of to you. So this is from Phil. I got his permission, as you can imagine. He helped us a lot. I mean, not only with regression and Cant, but also in the new version we have turnout banding done to UK standards. So we have verified network rail verified turnouts. That's coming from network rail. We don't distribute them, but yeah, as I said, that's not part of this presentation. But I just wanted to show you some of the things that he showed, such as in his projects, how it is easier to do negative Cant with using these new Cant properties. It is quite accurate. I mean, I will not go into details. He explained all of these in much more detail. It is in general much more capable in OpenRail Designer to do anything like negative Cant, because we have this new force positive option, which was not possible in BRT, and also new functions for extending the vertical, which was again not possible in our old software. And yeah, this is from a real project he did, and he shows how accurate it is in this new one. So I just want to show you also that St. Andrews level crossings done with the new regression tools. I will just go over all these. Another project, horizontal and vertical design with the new tools, and then it's constructs also. And then I just want to jump to here where he explained what he liked, this new structure where it ties everything together. You can work in multiple workflows, regression and Cant workflows. Again, this is his presentation. Is another thing that he said he really liked. It is much more integrated to everything now. And the tools are much more intuitive than before. I'm very happy to see that. Turnouts are updated, as I said, and so yeah, I mean, I just want to ask him to if I can show this, because we think that we had something much better in the new version, but I am so happy to see that as people like you use this and see the same benefits. That is just validates what we have done is in the right direction. And as I said, this is thanks to all the efforts put down by PWI, because none of these tools were a surprise. We developed these tools in conjunction with you, and we validated the tools as we go. So many things in the tools, little checkboxes, workflows, they are all coming from the feedback that you gave us. You tried it and you told us just add this. As this trace display is something that I had no idea about. You showed us and then we added that. So there's a lot of things that is thanks to your efforts, especially PWI members. Okay, so let me see if there is any questions let me go back to my thank you slide and let me see what happened in the chat. Hakan answered some questions. Maybe I can just... Oh, not some questions, many questions.
Yes, Kivanc, he has answered quite a few of those. It's trying to go through these and pick some out that hasn't been answered. So we'll see where we can pick some out.
Yeah, Sean, before we go on, we maybe should mention a couple of more things around this new version.
Yes.
Within our download site, the Bentley download site, you can find a UK workspace for 2024 version of OpenRail available to be downloaded. Please note that that workspace do not contain the UK turnouts. The UK turnouts is owned by Network Rail. So if you get in contact with Network Rail, you can get the turnouts from Network Rail that will work together with the 2024 version, as well as the workspace that goes along with that.
Exactly. I mean, we haven't, these are the libraries. So we created the dgen libs again for this from Phil's presentation, but Network Rail wanted us not to distribute them as part of the product so that you always have the correct versions. But they are ready. They are also in the format that we use, the dgen format. What you need to do is take them and put them into your workspace, and they should be available. And as I said, we spent quite some time validating how all this works. Phil spent, weekends to do that actually. So very thankful to him. You should be able to use them, and they are all, as you can see, validated. And we have the training also, the NIV training. I think you answered that, Hakan, I see, which uses all these NIV tools. So my advice is, but I always give this advice, regression is an advanced workflow. So if you will migrate to OpenRail Designer, and if you want to do regression, start with something simple, not regression, just we have learning paths. First, learn how to use basic functionality like geometry tools, like NIV microstation interfaces, and then come to regression. Don't jump to regression right away, because I see that many people struggle because they don't have the basic fundamental knowledge. So start with something simple, just creating some, going through some basic trainings. As I said, there's learning paths that you can follow, and then come back to regression after you have some familiarity with the software. Okay, so new messages. So there is ALC, and Hakan just answered that. Why the create crossover? Why the create crossover tool has been removed from her? How can we create crossovers now? We have, I think we should have videos about creating crossovers, and actually there are workflows for creating that. It's not, it's quite possible, just it's manual. Maybe, I don't know how we can do that. Maybe we can just point you to the right documents. But on the other hand, we also have some work going on for adding crossovers back, because crossovers was giving a lot of problems. But there's workflows and there's videos about how to do that. It is not a terrible workflow, but we will still working on adding crossovers back, mainly for annotation, not for workflow reasons.
There's a question. There's one from Andy Foltz. Says, is there an option to impose named controls limits over chosen lengths for MTP sites, that's managed track position sites? So is there an option to impose name controls or limits over those chosen lengths?
Chosen lengths? What do you mean?
Yeah,
I
and it's,
I think I understand.
yeah, Andy,
well
you on? No, it's fine. Andy, are you there? You can ask the question. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simply in terms of level 2 control sites where there are fixed limitations. I wonder if you could have a named control like you would anywhere else, where the limits were fixed rather than chosen.
I mean, limits for what? Limits for slew values, limits for Cant?
Lift, slew and Cant, yes.
So you in the new version, what you can do is, as you are creating your geometry, it comes with some, I mean, the software, let me explain, and maybe you can understand better, because I just not sure if I understand everything correctly. So it comes with some default limits that you defined for the whole thing. While creating your regression line, you just assign a default maximum slew for the points. But as you are creating your objects and as you are inputting values, so for example in the trace display you can input, hey, I want these points to have that much of maximum slew. It remembers this and writes these onto the point. So it starts with some default values that you input, and then as you are working on the regression, it updates the slew values for the points based on your interactions with the tools. I don't know if it answered your question.
Yes, thank you. It's obviously a manual control rather than a fixed one. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, if you can let me know what a fixed one can be, that I would love to know, because I don't know how we can do a fixed one.
I'll
You
message
can
you
email me
after the.
maybe.
Yeah, I will
that
do.
would
Yeah,
be
just to
great.
explain myself more clearly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Link to UK workspace. I am sure we can do that.
Yeah, we
Internal
should have that
index.
anyway. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we've got that, so I can send that to
Okay.
Alex for ACOMS. That's fine. Okay, I think Hakan did a good job of answering the majority. Are there any questions anybody wants to field now? For them, put it in chat. You can speak up. That's fine.
There was a question that's not answered, I think. Is there any way to apply acceleration and retardation rates to speed profile at speed changes rather than having instead? Yes, that's possible. I mean, we don't have acceleration or retardation rates, but we have speed transitions. So in the speed table, you can enable displaying it's in the menu. You can enable displaying speed transitions, and then instead of having a abrupt jump in the speed, you can have it also change in a linear fashion. That's possible. Any others that is not answered here? Is there an option to impose? Okay, we talk about this. TFL will be happy. Yeah, we just had a discussion about how to spell scale, and we couldn't come up with a single answer, unfortunately, so we left it as is. Slew. How many banding? We have German and we have Swiss banding. For UK, what is used is Swiss banding with internal, with inner rail defining the length. So because there's two banding methods, Swiss and German, and then there's also another parameter, which is which rail is used for defining lengths, inner rail, outer rail, or center. So UK is Swiss with inner rail. So UK libraries, you'll see that they all have the same property, and whenever this method is used, it uses UK banding. I mean, if you want in the future, we can have a closer review of how the banding is done for UK.
Yeah.
But there are two. And these are also in the help document.
Okay. Okay, any more questions? Either in the chat or speak up. And there you go. Jose, good to see you.
If you need to change the datum, the vertical element is you go as no, it just updates it. If you change the by datum, if you mean the stationing, yes, it will keep the vertical and slide it back and forward. As you can see in the video, even if you add something in the middle of horizontal, it slides the vertical based on that. Of course, if you just destroy everything in horizontal, then it will be a bit more difficult to heal correctly. Do you have any plans on vertical alignment heal? We have vertical alignment healing already. I mean, if there's things that's not working, let us know, but we have it. That's what drives all the regression, where you just work on gaps, but it keeps your vertical contact. Non-preferred
Can obsolete or non-preferred. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can create any. I mean, it is feature defined, so you can create your own also. I don't know how you will have that with fill and approval processes. I don't know about that, but you can create your own libraries also, anything based on triangle definitions and then geometries. So I think it should be possible. I don't know what these are, but.
Okay, right. We've got a few minutes left. I'll finish it there if that's okay. Kivanc and Hakan. Yeah.
I will stop
We're
sharing.
in there. That'd be great. So if you stop sharing. So there's a chance to carry on the conversation. So we can do that through, bear with me. So you can carry on the conversation through links